Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the 40/40 Vision podcast, the ultimate sports history pod where hindsight is 40/40. Before we get started, let's pay some bills and hear from our presenting sponsors. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 40/40 Vision podcast. I'm your host, Khaled Abdallah, and I'm joined today by a special guest, Ricky G, the OG of Warriors Twitter. How's everything going today?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, of course, and thanks for coming on. So today's topic is the state of the NBA. So if you follow Ricky on Twitter, he has decades of basketball knowledge, decades of NBA knowledge, and he's not afraid to share it with his followers. He's got plenty of, I don't want to say hot takes, but some strong takes about the current state of the NBA and the current state of the Warriors and all that. So we'll start with the Warriors. They've made some big moves this summer, got rid of Jordan Poole, brought in Chris Paul. What is the current state of the Warriors? What is your overall opinion on the chances of the Warriors to once again become a championship contender?
Wow, that's a loaded question. First of all, with the Warriors this year, I need to see it. I'm not saying it won't work, it will work, and obviously I'm talking Chris Paul. I got to see it. They're asking for a lot of things to happen. Now, if you listen to Kerr talk recently, and you listen to Green talk and Steph talk, there's a lot of different messages being sent. I think after last year, everybody talks about Poole, bad shot selection, out of control. There's a lot of truth to that. But you know what's being laid under the weeds? I think Kerr's trying to talk and tell us. Green and Steph and the Warriors as a team had too many turnovers. They were reckless. And I think they bought in that CP3 is going to fix that. Mm-hmm. Okay, that might be true. But how are they going to guard when Steph and CP3 on the floor together? That's two small guards. And CP3 has to guard somebody. And what it does is slide Steph to an elite scorer. Now, that's a twofold problem. One, it's going to eat his legs. And two, it might get him in foul trouble.
Which he does a lot, yeah.
Yeah,
anyway.
So that's some issues I want to see. Now, I keep hearing it's CP3 for the second unit, and he's only here to stabilize the second unit. Okay, I get that. But that's not good. Back to your question, are they a chip team? CP3 with the second unit, that's great for regular season. What does he give you in the next season when the playoffs start? There's 3 seasons in the NBA. Regular season, playoffs, last 4 teams standing. When I look at my Warriors, I'm always looking at how does your game translate to the last 4 teams standing.
So yeah, I mean, you were saying that there's 3 seasons that you called it in the NBA. Of course, like you said, the regular season, the playoffs, and then the last 4 standing. I mean, I think as currently constructed, I think the Warriors are going to be a really good regular season team because of the reasons that you laid out. If Chris Paul is going to be running the second unit, they're going to clean up the turnovers. They should have enough scoring. What's your concern going into the playoffs and, if they do make it to that last season that you said, the last 4 standing?
Well, I think what's going to happen is Kuminga's looks like he's making a third-year jump. Okay? So I think today, January, and March, we're going to see enough data to where Kerr's going to have some versatility with this lineup. And what I mean by that is, can Kerr slide Wiggins to the 2? Can he play Kuminga at the 3 or 4 and put Clay at the 3 or 4? I don't know. I think Kerr's dream is to have Wiggins and Kuminga on the floor at the same time. It gives them length, rim pressure, and it makes them an elite defensive team with Green. Mm-hmm. And it protects Steph. So I think what we're going to have to monitor is Kuminga's leap a real leap? If it's a real leap, then Kerr has a lot of versatility. If it's not a real leap and he still can't stay away from some bad plays, you can put up with bad plays during the regular season. You can't put up with them in playoffs. So that's going to be the juggling that Kerr has to go. But where does Chris Paul fit in the 8-man rotation in the playoffs? Because you're asking 2 small guards to guard. Now, can he give you the 10 to 15 minutes? Okay, maybe. And he gives you minutes when Steph's on. Okay, I can roll with that. But is he that piece to actually push you over a top? I got to see it.
Yeah, especially at 37, it's tough. I think in an ideal situation, we get to see either Steph or Chris Paul on the floor for at some point during the whole game, so they're never off the floor together. I know Kerr is really strict with his rotations and stuff, so we might see that. But I think when it's like nut crunch time, maybe he's kind of rotating them so we have someone to control the offense. But he does, of course, have Draymond to do that as well. So I think that versatility is going to help. But one thing I noticed was in the playoffs last year, the athleticism difference was huge between, we saw it a little bit with Sacramento, and then we saw it a lot more with LA. They were bigger, stronger, faster, all that stuff, more athletic. And we didn't get to see Kuminga. We got to see a little bit of Moody play there as well. So is Kuminga and Wiggins and Moody on the floor together? Is that how we close that kind of athleticism gap between the Warriors and the rest of the West?
Well, he has versatility, but to me, as we speak today, with the information we have today, I think Saric is more important of a pickup than maybe CP3 when it comes to the end of the year. Saric, to me, is gonna be a huge pickup. Now, can he guard in certain situations? I think he can, but we have to see it. And it's just, see, Kerr said something in the last day or two. I think what Kerr's really been telling us. I watched the Kings tape. I watched the Lakers tape. We're not, like he said, we're not as good. We're not good enough to play in chaos anymore. He saw it. He knows he can't get in a run and gun game with the Kings. He knows they'll get run right off the floor. He knows it. And with the Lakers, the Lakers are a bad matchup. The Lakers are a bad matchup for us because of their guards. Reeves and D'Lo's a tough cover for CP3 and Steph.
Yeah, you have the size advantage, yeah.
Well, not only that, if you put Steph on CP3, or no, if you put Steph on Reeves, you're looking at foul trouble. Because Reeves is a pro at drawing foul. So Kerr's got some issues. It's just my problem with the CP3 situation is his size, and he's not the quickest cat in the world. Now my next question is, how is CP3 going to play pick and roll with the Warriors when he don't have a roller? See, if you watch CP3 with Phoenix, he always had a big that he could maneuver like a snake in the mid-range game and probe. He don't have that with the Warriors. So that's going to be an issue. And this idea CP3 needs to unlock Kuminga, I might flip it on you. Kuminga might unlock CP3.
Yeah, I mean, he's that lob threat. But I mean, that's to answer your question about the pick and roll. You brought up Saric. I think he is that big that's going to work with Chris Paul. I mean, they played together for a little bit in Phoenix, and that was working pretty well until he got hurt. And, I think he blew out his ACL. So
he did.
Yeah, he's the key piece there. I think that's an excellent point. And I do remember watching him in Philadelphia. I happen to have season tickets when he was still in Philadelphia when I lived out there. And he's a great player. He's not a great defensive player, but he's really smart. He's got a soft touch. He can shoot. And I think he's the offensive big man that the Warriors have been looking for. And I think, like you said, I think he might be that bigger piece than Chris Paul. What do you think?
Well, I think he is. Now, back to Chris Paul. In the playoffs, he's going to get hunted. In the story. We can talk regular season. Oh, he's defending. He's doing this. Well, let me tell you something. In the playoffs, they're coming down every court. Well, who's Chris Paul's man? Come set the pick. They're going to hunt him. And that's going to be a problem. So I got to see it. I'm not saying, yes, it's good. Yes, it's bad. I got to see it. Are the Warriors a chip team today? Not in my opinion, no. But let's see it.
Yeah. So in the West, I think all the teams, you look up and down the standings, they all have questions. They all have potential flaws. Who would you pick from now as your favorites to be in the conference finals, and why?
Well, I said yesterday, the West is for Denver to lose. Okay, now repeating is tough. I also said yesterday, in the West, teams, I think I said 4 through 9, maybe I said 5 through 9. There's about 4 to 5 teams that have a ceiling of a top 4 seed, but have a floor of a 9 seed.
Yeah.
I could see 4 through 8, 4 through 9 being 1 to 2 game separation.
I mean, it was like that last year.
And the teams that you got to be careful. Careful. And I'm not saying they're in a chip team, or I'm not even saying they're a top 4 seed. But I see Oklahoma City in that 5 to 7 range.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody's coming down. Who's coming down? Well, health matters. Right now, the West. See, right now, and I'm gonna catch heat for this, and I said it last year. The Warriors are not built to beat the Lakers today. Now, key words today. They're not built to beat them. They're bigger and they're quicker. That's a problem. Denver. Denver's got the best player in the world, and they got the 4 best starters in the world. I think it's their division to lose. Phoenix, I need to see more. Phoenix is going to score.
Mm-hmm.
No, I tweeted yesterday, can they guard? Okay, maybe they can. I need to see it. So the West is dead. I mean, we haven't even talked about the Clippers. Clippers look good to me. And I've been drinking that Kool-Aid for 5 years. I'm still sipping.
I'm out on the Clippers completely.
Man, I've got one more cup left. I'm giving them one more cup.
Yeah, I'm tired of the if Kawhi is healthy, if PG is healthy, if. I need some more concrete. I'm the same with like New Orleans. Like I'm tired of the, if Zion is healthy, if Zion has his head on straight,
You just said New Orleans. We haven't even talked about New Orleans yet. See, I mean, the West is crazy. And what is Memphis?
Yeah, without Ja for, I don't know, a third of the season. So question marks, yeah.
See, so, I mean, the Warriors are interesting because the Kerr and the vets are stubborn on this small ball. And I get it. It's worked for them. It's won rings for them. But at what point in time do you look around the league and say, wait a minute, we need to get a little bigger? Mm-hmm. Now, Kuminga and Wiggins on the floor together changes a lot of that. They have long, lean athleticism on the wings. See, I think Kerr's dream is to have both of them on the floor in March.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's his dream. Now, the player that I'm having trouble with trying to find minutes for in the Warriors is GP2. GP2 will get minutes when they play in an elite, quick point guard because he'll match up with that. He will get minutes in the dunker spot, maybe 12 minutes, 15 minutes a game max. But he's so small now. If you play him with Steph or a CP3, you get real small. And he's no offensive threat in crunch time. Teams won't guard him.
Mm-hmm.
And I just see that, the CP3 2 years ago, is he that guy today?
No, he's not.
I don't think he is. I think he's, his offensive game. See, excuse me, the Warriors were good enough 2 years ago to mask specialists. Are they good enough this year to mask specialists?
Depends on Steph. I think it's all about Steph.
Take Steph off the floor. How do you mask GP2 not being guarded? And then what do you do with Green not being guarded? And then what do you do with Looney not being guarded? See, that's a lot of specialties.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a problem. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
The Warriors are capable. One thing about the Warriors, their shooting is so good, they're capable of catching fire and putting your ass outside the block. They can do that, but can they guard?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we saw that. I mean, the shooting basically helped him get in the playoffs. Clay was on a crazy tear near the end of the season. And then I think the fatigue and all that caught up to him. And that's why he was basically had dead legs against the Lakers. But I think the additional depth that they had, I mean, I wasn't even thinking about GP2 when you talked about the 8-man lineup, but I think throughout the season, they're going to have enough bodies to guard and they'll have enough bodies to withstand that. But again, the question comes up, like you said, in that second season or that third season. So, I mean, when you look at the West in general, I think what a lot of people are saying is you're running out of spots for teams for the playoffs. I mean, because there's all these teams, I think, aside from maybe, Houston, San Antonio, and Portland, everybody else has a shot, at least on paper, of making the playoffs. So, I mean, aside from health, is there another factor that we should consider in terms of, who you think is going to be in that top 8 or even top 10 spots?
Well, I think OKC and New Orleans are capable of being in the top 8. They're capable. What is Sacramento this year? Are they a 3 seed or a 9 seed? I don't know. I don't see him as a 9 seed, but I don't know if I see him as a 3 seed. They were fortunate last year. They had a lot of good help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back to the Warriors for a minute, to a player that's going to be important. We haven't talked about is Moody.
Mm-hmm.
See, if you watch Kerr and pay attention to what he's doing, and then when they signed, what was the last player, the wing they signed from the Bulls? I forgot his name now. Javante, they just signed him. 6'5", 6'6" wing.
Not sure.
He's athletic. He's a defender. Forget his name now. I want to say Javante. But anyways, they're going to send him Santa Cruz.
Sure.
Kerr's trying to load his team up with wings.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to get back to what their chip years when they were loaded with long athletic wings. Because Steph needs protection. Because if they don't protect Steph, it's going to eat his legs and it's going to cause foul issues.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't. I mean, right now, if you play CP3 and Steph, how do you hide Steph?
You can't.
He has to compete.
For the most part, yeah.
And he will compete and he will guard. But what's the long term?
Mm-hmm.
See, so
I think the idea is when you bring in Chris Paul, you can have him, Draymond, and Steph on the floor at the same time that can all initiate the offense. So if Steph does have to, you will.
because CP3 and Green is an overkill.
Okay.
I need to see that. What do you when CP3 is probing? What are you doing with Green?
He's probably not being guarded. He's probably being left alone, and yeah.
You need to see that. See, I don't know if those two fit. I think CP3 has to play with Sarge.
Mm-hmm. He will.
But my dream is Kuminga has such a good lead that he forces Kerr to put Wiggins at the 2. That's my dream.
Mm-hmm. I think you might get it. I mean, there's going to be a lot of load management. I think half the Warriors roster doesn't fall under these like load management rules because they're over 35. So they'll be okay to sit a bunch of games. And I think you'll get to see that quite a bit. I think last year it was strange. Kerr was leaning a lot on Anthony Lamb and Ty Jerome and just guys that didn't seem to have a future with the team. And he wasn't playing Moody and Kuminga as much. So I think this year that's going to be the big change. Is he's going to be forced almost to believe in Moody and Kuminga and put the game in their hands much more often than he did last year.
Well, the vets have to earn the names you just mentioned have to earn the vets' trust, so the vets can let Kerr play. See, people don't understand with the Warriors. They all think everything's on Kerr. Man, Kerr's got vets with 4 rings in his ears, man. Kerr's got to go through them before he can just start pushing buttons. And a lot of people don't understand that. People want to take Kerr this, Kerr that. It's not easy coaching dudes. When the Warriors won that 4th ring, you can't tell them dudes shit. You got to work with them. You're not telling them nothing. Yeah. And that's obvious. And I get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the cherry on top ring. You couldn't tell him anything about after that. It was, Steph's crowning achievement probably of his career, that whole team, winning without KD and all that. They were able to end a lot of arguments for the most part. So any other teams in the West that you are particularly interested in watching? Maybe not, someone that you think is going to compete for a championship, but just maybe an experiment or something that you're really curious to see how it plays out.
OKC and the Houston Rockets. I want to watch the Houston Rockets. That's my AAU team.
Let's talk the Rockets first, yeah.
That's my glorified AAU team.
Okay, how much of a leap did they take with Udoka?
See, I don't know because the West is so tough. Winning games in the West is brutal. I think they can take a leap and not win games. If that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
But I think Miami can coach. I know he's a player and he got all his little issues, but he's a no-joke coach. Boston misses him. If the Celtics had Udoka coaching this year, oh my God, they'd be a monster. See, that's the only thing. That's the only question I have with the Celtics is this coach going to handle it in the heat? We saw him last year against Miami, against a little Spo zone. Everybody made Spo some genius when all he was doing was running an 8th grade zone, and Boston couldn't bust it because they wanted to play off the bounce. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. So Houston's going to take a leap, but not win games. I think that's reasonable to say they have some They finally have a legit point guard. They have a veteran presence with Van Vliet. I'm not huge on the Dylan Brooks thing, but I think he does bring at least like a FU mentality to the team, which, is kind of a blessing and a curse. But about OKC, I mean, they on paper, they look like they're like 12 deep, and it's all young guys. I think they're like all under 25, something like that. Bunch of kids running around. What's so interesting about them to you? I mean, obviously, other than what I already stated.
Yeah. Chet.
Mm-hmm.
The two kids that got the same last name.
The same name, the two Jalen.
Those guys can play, man. The young Dort can guard dudes. I like their coach. I think their coach is elite. Maybe not this year, but man, the next year or 2 years, man, they're going to be a problem. I think SGA is one of the best players in the NBA in playoffs. I think his game fits playoffs. He's that dude that can put the ball on the floor and go get you a bucket. And when everybody talks about Kerr and his movement and his pick and roll and this blah blah blah. At some point in time, when you get to the big boys, when all the dudes happen to pull up at the gym at the same time, and you got grown-ups, you need that dude to say, "Give me the ball, get out of my way, and let me go get a bucket." SGA does that. Steph does that. KD does that. That's one thing I don't know if the Lakers have. Do the Lakers have a dude that can just say, "Give me the ball, go get a bucket"? I don't know if LeBron can do that anymore.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw he couldn't last year. There was a few opportunities against the Nuggets. I mean, we could say maybe his foot was hurt, whatever, but he had some chances to extend that series at least, and he wasn't able to. So I think that's a valid question.
I think Denver is going to be hard to beat if they stay healthy. Mm-hmm. Jokic and Murray is just too good. And then they got Porter and Gordon that create matchup problems for you.
Yeah.
Porter gives you the spacing, and Gordon gives you the rim pressure. It's just so tough. And Jokic is by far the best player in the world. I don't see how anybody can even argue with it.
Yeah. He took the crown.
He's the best screen setter in the world, and then when he gets the ball, he's the best playmaker in the paint. Mm-hmm. There's not a better playmaker in the paint than Jokic.
No, absolutely not. Maybe not a better playmaker, period.
I tweeted yesterday, Jokic's screen setting is similar to Steph's gravity.
Okay. Expand on that.
Well, Steph's gravity gives everybody open shots, right?
Yeah.
Jokic's screen setting, whoever's guarding dies on that screen. So now the defense is in retreat on their heels and they're scrambling. And you got the best playmaker with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. See, all bigs need good guard play. Everybody wants to talk about, well, we played Jokic this 2 years ago, 3 years ago, blah, blah, blah. No. Jokic is the best now because he's got good guard play. Bigs have to have good guard play. People kill bigs a lot. A lot of times it's their guard play is their problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he went from a couple years ago, I think it was like Austin Rivers and Gary Harris or Will Barton, something like that. And then, of course, last year it's Christian Braun and Bruce Brown and Jamal Murray. Like, that's a massive, massive upgrade. So it sounds like, all right, the Nuggets are the favorite to repeat, at least in the West. I think that seems like that's your pick. But the rest of the conference is kind of up in the air, up in flux. Let's talk about the Clippers. You seem to still have that soft spot in your heart.
Where is it? I got a cup. Here, here's my cup. I got a cup, man.
What? So right now they're, I think, favored, or there's a lot of rumors about them going out and getting James Harden. I don't think you're very high on James Harden. You had a tweet today? Yeah. The other day it was, he's the blonde at the bar that's been divorced 3 times or whatever it was. It's a great analogy because, I'm sure all these other teams, maybe some of the less informed ones will look at it and be like, oh, that's James Harden. That's one of the best scoring 2 guards of all time, blah, blah, blah. But they're not looking under the hood, so to speak. But if the Clippers do end up getting James Harden, does that change your opinion of them positively or negatively?
Yeah, I put down the cup. I won't drink the Kool-Aid. If they keep Rosman, man, I'll keep drinking the Kool-Aid. Okay. They don't need James Harden. Everybody, first thing I get, 2011. So what? He's lost explosion. He lacks the skill of getting to the free throw line like he used to. He can't switch, which is what Clippers want to do with all them wings out on the perimeter. And he pounds the rock. all he's going to do is take the ball away from Paul George and Kawhi. Now, if you want him for the regular season as insurance and all that, okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get to the playoffs, I don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, he plays a ton of games.
He's got to fit.
You know, yeah.
I'm
with you.
One of these guys, I don't get attracted to older players with big names who play multiple teams. I don't find that attractive.
Mm-hmm.
We're back to the bar eating sea bass at P.F. Chang's. I didn't find you attractive when you told me you're married with 3 different times or you got 7 kids. I don't see that.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm still out on the Clippers in general. I do think they have enough guys to be competitive in the regular season, but if they do trade for Harden, then I'm completely out on them as a team.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Who's your top 4 teams in the West today?
In the regular season?
But today.
In the regular season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to be some combination of Denver, Phoenix, Minnesota, and the Warriors.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about Minnesota yet.
We haven't even talked about Minnesota. My goodness.
Wow. You want me to tell you why?
Yeah, tell me why. I want to hear.
So you talked about 3 seasons. I think this is a team that is absolutely built for the regular season. I think they have plenty of depth. They have a great starting 5, again, for the regular season. I think Rudy Gobert is an incredible regular season player because he is a difference maker defensively. He's not a negative on offense because he gets all those putbacks and offensive rebounds, and he's a lob threat. And I think this is the year Anthony Edwards takes a leap. And we've seen Karl Anthony Towns, like, he can score. He can play really well, again, in the regular season. And I think because of that, I think Edwards takes like an MVP type leap this year. And I think he has enough size and athleticism around him for them to compete and be a top 4 seed in the West.
I think that's all fair. Now, do I agree with that top 4? Probably not, but I think that's fair. I wouldn't push back on what you just said, but that's interesting. I didn't even, like you said, we didn't even talk Minnesota.
Yeah.
Top 4 teams.
There's too many. So who's your top 4?
So you think if the Warriors played the Lakers tomorrow in the regular season, they beat them?
In the regular season, yes. I think so.
It's interesting. See, the top 4 for me gets tricky. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say I think Denver's a lock to be in the top 4, and I think Phoenix is probably a lock to be in the top 4. 3 to 9. I think we can make a case for 5 of those teams.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but to me, if I'm the Warriors, I tell the Kings we're not even going to play you guys during the regular season. We're just going to leave you alone. We'll just stay away from you. And you know another team we haven't even talked about?
Who you got?
Dallas Mavericks.
I'm out on Dallas.
Okay.
I'm not.
Are they a playoff team?
I don't think so. I think they are a play-in team at best. I just don't see it.
I think you might be right. I don't like their roster either.
Yeah.
You might be right.
I love Kyrie as a person, as a basketball player. He's great when he's out there, but I just when I look at that team, I don't see it. Unless Luka, becomes a Terminator or something and goes insane, I'm out on Dallas.
No, I see. Luka and Kyrie would scare me in a playoff series, but as far as their roster and regular season, I don't. I might agree with you. With the West this year, they might be the team that falls out.
Yeah, I mean, they could end up with like 42 wins and be on the outside looking in. I don't think that's inconceivable, or maybe 40 wins or something like that. I don't think that's. They could be a 10 seed. And last year they were like, we don't want to be in the play-in, so we're going to tank. Maybe they do the same thing for this year. So that's the way I see it.
So where do you see New Orleans?
I don't see them in the playoffs at all. You said you got to see it with Chris Paul and all those guys. I got to see it with Zion. People are talking. He's just so immature. All the other stuff that came out with the adult film star and the baby mamas and all that stuff, it's just more immaturity. The guy is either going to eat or sleep his way out of this league unless something major changes. They're talking about it this year, but I got to see it before I put any kind of prediction there.
I think I'm with you on that. I think I agree with you. But
Okay.
you know what? We talked about the West. It's funny. We didn't talk Minnesota. That's wild because Minnesota's got a squad. You know another squad that's dangerous. And they're only dangerous from the 10 to the 7th spot. Is Utah?
Yeah.
Utah's very athletic. Utah might be the most athletic team in the West. That's a big statement.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah. To me, I just think they're. I don't know if they're interested in competing. Again, I think that's. I think they're more of an asset team than a competitive team. I think last year they
got one of the best coaches in the West, by the way.
Absolutely.
Utah's coach and OKC coach are two coaches people don't talk about. Those guys are both good basketball coaches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Markkanen was a revelation last year as a player. Chicago basically quit on him, and he came out and said, I'm going to be an all-star this year, and I'm going to do my thing. And they shut him down, I think, at the end of the year, because, again, they just weren't interested in competing. And I think Ainge is the type of guy that's playing the long game, and I just don't see them pushing that hard to be an 8 or 9 or 10 seed. I think they're just going to cruise, maybe sell off a couple parts, But let's talk about the East. I think the East is probably a little more interesting in terms of the drama and the storylines. Maybe not as interesting from a 1 to 15, like who's going to be great and who's not. Let's start at the top. We'll start with Miami and Boston. Miami was probably putting all their chips in the Dame Lillard trade, but I personally can never count them out. And the same goes for Boston, at least in terms of their talent. But what do you think of those two Eastern Conference finalists for this year?
I'm going to catch smoke on this response, but I'm just going to say it. People got caught up in Miami's Cinderella run last year. Let's keep the facts. They were an 8 seed or playing game. And they ran into a Milwaukee team that was a mess, had some injuries. They ran into a Boston team that played probably the stupidest IQ basketball I've seen in years. To the point where I even had Andrew Bogut telling people that I was right about that playing off the bounce versus the pass. It was just the dumbest. Miami can't touch Boston this year. I don't care what you think of Spo. I don't care about Bam, but they're good players. It's a good team. They're not in the same floor with Boston if Boston plays high IQ basketball. That's a big if. Mm-hmm. See, Tatum and Brown have got to learn how to play the game of basketball if they want to win at the end. But to me, the East is Boston to lose. Milwaukee, okay. I think the Dame trade did one thing for them. It gave them offensive power and closing. They needed that, but they're going to miss Drew's. They're going to miss Drew's defense on the perimeter. People who say Drew can't guard. Drew guards dudes. He guards 1 through 4 dudes. That's hard to replace. Two-way players that guard 1 through 4 dudes can always play on my basketball team. I'll take them over most scorers that can't guard. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them. You better be that 1% scorer to play ahead of Drew. Drew to me is, he's like a Wiggins to me. Those guys play on my basketball team.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I think on paper, go ahead.
Milwaukee's capable of winning the East. There's no question. But they got to find another wing defender because if you have Giannis on the wing guarding a dude, you lose his weak side rim protection. See, his strength for the Bucks is covering with the weak side rim protection for the perimeter players that can't guard.
Absolutely.
And if he has to guard a dude, you lose that.
Mm-hmm. I think on paper, Boston is the clear favorite. You look at their roster, their starting 5, their first 8, whatever. They have shooting, they have scoring, they have size, all that. They have defense, most importantly. You brought up Joe Maz earlier. He's the big question mark. They don't play smart basketball. They play a lot of your turn, my turn type basketball. And Drew Holiday is not the traditional point guard that's going to come in and kind of run the show. I think that's what ideally Malcolm Brogdon would have been, but I think he just wasn't able to assert himself on that team for whatever reason. So I just think, obviously I'm high on Boston from a talent perspective, but I think, again, nut crunch time, I'm going with Milwaukee, or maybe not Miami, but I think I'm going to go with Milwaukee if it's going to come down between those guys.
Do you think Miami's better this year than they were last year?
No, I don't think so. I think they've lost
they
key
were
pieces. They lost Strus. Yeah. Regular season.
That's true.
Right?
No, that's true.
Know?
But and that's a fair point. And Spo's very good when he gets in a series with you, and he can make a difference. I get all that. But when you saw it with Denver, Spo didn't matter.
Yeah.
Dudes just crushed them. See, that's what people are missing. And see, the East is, people want to tell you the East is just as strong as the West. Man, they're high. That ain't true.
Nah,
no, the East ain't close to the West. And they got lucky. They caught two powerful teams that were a mess. But Boston is just, you scratch your head. All Spo did was run a simple zone, and they couldn't even hit the gaps and beat a simple zone because they all want to pound the rock. And as long as Tatum and Brown pound the rock, then I'll keep drinking the Kool-Aid, and they're not going to win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, like you said, I mean, it comes to a point where talent is going to win out, and if the talent gap is too big, like we saw with Miami and Denver, the talent gap was massive, right? And the coaching was able to make up for the talent gap between Miami and Boston because the coaching gap was just as big. But
it was the players like you. The players' IQ in Miami was much higher than the players' IQ in Boston. I want to address, everybody says Boston needs a point guard. Let me tell you why that's a false narrative.
Because I feel that way.
If Brown and Payton aren't going to change their game, I don't care if you got the best point guard in the world, because once he makes a pass to him, it's over, because they're going to pound the ball. They're going to pound the rock, and they kill everything after that first pass. So it's not going to matter. What difference does it make?
It's true. I mean, that's what we saw with Brogdon. I mean, that's what the hope was with Brogdon. The point guard ain't going to solve Boston's problem if Tatum and Brown don't change their IQ. As long as they want to show you and dance with the ball and let you know, hey, I can bump and grind with it, they're not going to beat the good teams. Okay. So, I mean, let's talk about maybe some of the second tier contenders in the East. We'll throw Philly in there as currently constructed, maybe the Knicks. The Cavs, I think the Cavs actually have the second highest over-under for win total. Yeah.
Knicks and Cavs have got to be in that second tier, don't they?
I mean, if you look at Vegas has the Cavs as the second highest win total in the East, or third highest, one of those two. But they have high hopes for this team. I mean, they kind of flamed out.
That can be misleading, though. Now, as an ex-odds maker, let me share with you why that can be misleading.
Please.
See, the odds makers, them guys ain't no fools. The reason why Cleveland's that high is because the East is a lot weaker than the West. That's not suggesting that they're a better team than a lot of teams in the West. See, people forget the West play each other, 4 times? And the East teams play each other 4 times. That's an unbalanced schedule. So the odds maker, they're not, you're not going to pick them off. They understand the scheduling. So that's, and the action dictates that. But I think Cleveland and the Knicks are a solid third and fourth. I mean, I think I like the Knicks and Cleveland over Philly today. Now that could change. But then where's Indiana? I don't even know half the East teams anymore.
I mean, there's a lot of teams where you're like, okay, we can talk about them just for the sake of talking about them. Atlanta, Indiana, Washington, maybe throw Orlando in there. They all have young, fun players that were interested.
Orlando's a mayor of OKC.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of young guys.
But let's go back to Cleveland. Now let's go back to Cleveland and the Knicks for a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Where do you put the Heat? Do you put the Heat above both of them, in the middle, below? Where do you put the Heat with this year's roster?
Regular season, I don't see it. But come playoff time, I'm liking the Heat's chances against the Cavs and the Knicks.
Can the Knicks get to the Eastern Conference Finals with Randall?
No.
Interesting. I think I agree with you.
Yeah, I think he's shown us over the years he's not a winning player. He is a numbers guy. He's going to look good.
You pay
October
attention. You have good knowledge. You pay attention.
You gassing me up here. Knowledge. I appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, I don't think he's a winning player. It's fine. I think at some point, the Knicks are going to have to decide, are we – I think they tried to a little bit last year. Like, are we Julius Randle's team? Are we Jalen Brunson's team? And in the playoffs, Julius Randle said, no, this is my team. And we saw what happened. So
in the East, the two wildcard teams for me is Atlanta and Toronto. How do they fit? Where do they come in? I think Toronto's got this new coach and this new philosophy. I don't know if they're going to fall off a cliff or they're going to go upstream.
To me, they're Utah East. They're fun. They have athletic guys.
Masai keeps saying he wants to trade players. Masai ain't trading shit. Masai puts the price so high, you're not doing business with it. So that tells me he don't want to move him.
At some point, though, he has to shit or get off the pot, right? He's got to decide what is it.
I agree. He's got to do something. But I mean, their coach this year has a little bit of a new philosophy, a little more movement, a little more ball movement, a little more player movement. So I'm interested to see how that works. But Atlanta, I don't know about Atlanta, man.
I'm out on Trae Young.
I like Quinn Snyder. I'm not Trae Young. I'm not a small guard fan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how guy. I had a coach tell me a long time ago, sitting in the gym. We were in Vegas at a tournament, and there was a little guard that was torching everybody. I mean, he was just, everybody was saying he was the best player in the tournament. And I'm sitting with about 2 or 3 coaches, and some guy came over to them and told them, have you seen so-and-so, blah, blah? And all 3 coaches at the damn near the same time, you know what they all said?
Too small.
Small guards will get coaches fired.
Oh, okay. So what's small for you, though? I mean, Steph is 6'3", maybe 6'4" in shoes.
6'1" and under. 6'2's borderline. Lowry's built like a tank. Brunson's small, but he's built like a tank.
Yeah.
If you're going to – okay, let me say it this way. If you want me to take a small guard, he better get in the other point guard's chest on defense. If he can stick his nose in their chest and stay in front of the ball and guard him, I'll take him. If you got to put him in the corner, I don't want him.
So that's Trae Young. That's my issue with them. Yeah. They had a fluke.
Small guard, I'll take a small guard if you're strong as a bull, but you got to get out on top of the floor and stick your chest in the best point guard. And if you can't do that, then what's he give you?
Mm-hmm.
Because then you got to hide, you got to rotate your defense, and it's just a mess. And then when you put your small guard in the corner, you give up offensive board.
So on that point, let's talk about Milwaukee a little bit more, because they traded a bunch of stuff to get a small guard who he's
on the perimeter.
Yeah.
Can they guard on the perimeter? Dame's going to get hunted.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they got Lopez and Giannis. I get that. But again, if Giannis has to guard the dude, he loses weak side rim protection. Lopez is still there. But if they get one more piece and get a wing that can guard a dude, now you got Lopez and Giannis on the rim protection. Now it's a different ballgame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To me, they need one more piece.
Yeah, and you talk about closing offense. I mean, he's going to be incredible for that team, because we've seen that, Giannis putting his head down and running into 3 guys is not going to work. Drew Holiday's not a creator. I mean, they miss Middleton, like prime Middleton.
Well, that's what's his health like? Let's assume he's not Middleton anymore. What do we do then?
You're probably flaming out in the second round, if that's what's happening.
Boston, the one league Boston has that Milwaukee's going to exploit, Boston playing that 5 out and all the way, they're going to give up the glass. You can beat them on the glass. And I can see Milwaukee wearing their ass out on the glass. So that I can see.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think, Al Horford, I think he's, almost 40. He's not the same player he was.
Well, he's 20 minutes.
Yeah. Porzingis, he's had one healthy season in the last 5-6 years. There's a lot of ifs, we'll say, for Boston in terms of their bigs. So I'm not too high on that part of their team, at least. But again, on paper, they're the best team. Anybody else in the East that you're intrigued by? Is the Poole Kuzma combo interesting?
Everybody knows Kuzma's my best follow. Kuzma's my guy, and Poole. Yeah, I'm gonna watch the Wizards.
Okay.
I'd be telling Poole, or I'd be telling Kuz, man, Kuz is my guy. He gives me a lot of time, and I'm a big Kuz guy, and they're going to be fun to watch. Now, Kuz has told me they're going to win more than 24 games. I told him, okay, let's do that. but they're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. I'm interested. They'll be one of my like league pass teams, especially with the East Coast starts. The 4 p.m., 4:15, whatever. Be tuning in, seeing what they're doing. I'm really curious to see Poole. I liked him. Yeah, I thought he got a raw deal with the Warriors.
Oh, he absolutely got a raw deal, and he got a lot of blame, and he did a lot of good during the blame, and he carried the team during a stretch when he got all the blame.
Absolutely.
Poole we can argue about Poole's decision making and how he played, blah, blah, blah. Poole got shit on. Now, did he have some of it coming? Maybe. Did he make bad decisions? Maybe. Did he not guard? Yes. But people don't understand when people people don't understand when you treat somebody bad or you disrespect people, you don't get their best effort. That's just a fact. And then when he here's what got Poole in trouble. If we go back to the start, he carried that team to a hot start. They were balling, correct?
Yep.
Then he got benched for Clay. And the reason why they told him they benched him basically is because of defense and Clay's 4 rings. And he sits on that bench and watching other players not guarding. He's like, this is bullshit. Why do I have to guard, but that guy don't have to guard? And see, when players got eyes. See, if you're coaching me and you tell me I got to sit because I'm not guarding, but you replace me with a guy who's not guarding, I'm going to look at you sideways.
Mm-hmm.
See, and that's on Kerr. So there's a lot of dynamics that happened a couple of years ago. Now, last year, and I said it from day one, they never recovered from the punch. That punch divided that team. And then it put the vets in the corner, and the vets didn't want to hear it. And then the kids said, okay, we don't respect you. At the end of the day, the two timelines didn't respect each other.
Yeah.
And that's because a veteran put his fist through a young kid's grill, and they didn't do anything. So I don't know what Kerr was thinking. That's why I want to talk to Bob Myers. If I ever see Bob Myers, I'm going to ask, what really went down? Tell me the truth.
Yeah, I might have to buy him a few cocktails. Let him.
I'll just get him a
loosen him up.
When you live in San Diego, you see all these guys in La Jolla, Starbucks. Kerr goes in there.
Oh, there you go.
Kerr, Luke Walton. You see Kerr, Luke Walton, Jim Lampley. Mm-hmm. You see Jim Lampley a lot. Used to. I haven't seen him in a while. Used to see Jim Lampley all the time.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, buy him a cappuccino.
I used to see Bill Walton riding his bike around La Mesa.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, you brought up respect. I think that's the big thing because I think we've seen through the years that teams don't necessarily have to like each other in the same way that they're all partying together, having dinner together. But if there's no respect, there's a lack of respect, then that's a death sentence.
That's why you're 11-31 on the road. They went 11-31 on the road because nobody respected each other, and it got amplified on the road. Guys were walking up to an elevator, and I'll take the next one.
Yeah,
you can't have that. And if people don't believe that was going on, they're crazy. Mm-hmm. And then the young players had some friends that happened to be up on the other timeline, and that became a problem because they understood the young players not being respected, but yet the vets weren't calling them out. It's a dynamic that was just totally, they lost respect.
Yeah.
And Kerr,
no respect,
and
no trust.
Biggest fan, and I understand Kerr has the vets. Kerr had a bad coaching year last year as far as managing people because he's so attached and he's so scared of Draymond. I don't know what, I understand Draymond's been big in all the chips. I get all that. And Draymond is a very important, I get all that. But at some point in time, you got to draw a line and let that man know this is enough. If David West could draw that line, why couldn't the vets of Steve Kerr draw that line? See, the Warriors.
Draymond's the vet now.
The Warriors missed David West because David West would shut that shit down in a minute.
Yeah.
And Green respected David West, so he would shut down. But see, Draymond don't respect the other vets and Steve when it comes to shutting him down. I mean, his behavior shows you.
Yeah. I mean, Kerr said it this offseason. They need leadership, which was an interesting thing to.
We got 3 players with 4 rings, and we need leadership. That's mind-boggling to me. Yeah. Coming off of a chip year, that is mind-boggling. That says everything to me. And we can make excuses for it. We can give reasons, but that's mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm. So let's. Who's your top 4 in the East? I think this is a little easier to answer.
Boston, Milwaukee. Dang. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put these teams in a group for 3: Knicks, Cavs, Miami, Atlanta. Those 4 teams will fight for the other 2 spots. I'm gonna give Atlanta a little love. Philadelphia's I gotta see Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
If Philadelphia lets this Harden eat at them and become a cancer in the locker room and not playing or not trading, that's gonna cost them. But if they get that ironed out, I put Philly in the top 4.
Yeah,
but I think the Knicks and Cleveland are interesting on how they match up.
Mm-hmm.
And then Miami.
I'm going
to go. To me, Miami, Knicks, and Cleveland are all the same to me.
Yeah, I could see that. I probably put Cleveland a little bit higher. I think the 2 big dynamic works better in the regular season because guys are not going to get played off the court the same way they would in the playoffs. So in some order, I'll go, Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, Cleveland, because I do think Philly does get this figured out. Even if they don't get it figured out, I think they have enough talent with Embiid, if he's healthy, to be a top 4 seed. Which
are you a Mitchell playoffs fan?
I don't know. I think he does too much. I think I am until a point, right? And then there's a point where, okay, the hero ball is too much. I mean, I think he just needs to get smarter about picking his spots. I think when he tries to go into, full on hero mode, I'm going to score 60, 70 points, whatever it is. I think it gets to be too much. And I can't, I don't see him as the best player.
He shoots you in and he shoots you out.
Absolutely. But I think that they have some moves to make for sure.
All right, man, I got to run. I got nurses coming in here. So
yeah. No, I appreciate your time. Thank you, man. I wanted to ask you some hoop history questions, but we'll have to schedule another call because you seem like an encyclopedia.
Well, I've seen it all. I've been here long enough. But we can do another one. But I got to let some of these nurses in here from Mom. So.
Yeah, I appreciate your time, man. Take care.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right. Have a good one. Bye. Big shout out to Ricky G, the godfather or OG of Warriors Twitter. Make sure to follow him at JRichardGoodman. He's got plenty of hot takes, plenty of strong takes, plenty of incredible basketball knowledge. He's a walking basketball encyclopedia. I wish we had a little more time to talk to him, but we'll definitely be scheduling another interview to talk about, some basketball history stuff because, as you can see, he's been around for a while. He's been watching basketball for a very, very long time. Thank you guys for checking us out. Make sure to subscribe anywhere you're listening to this podcast. Make sure to check us out on all the major platforms, the podcasting platforms, all the major social media networks at 4040 Vision Pod. And make sure to hit that subscribe button again, wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. Thanks, y'all.